I've never seen one like that. It's like, double check because I've never seen one. I've never seen one.
It's just about the transfer.
Okay, I got 7C, they will call the Zoning Service Board meeting on Monday, May 17th. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call when you're ready, Andrew.
Rick Hennigan.
Present.
Joe Root.
Present.
Mike Reeder.
President.
Kim Brewer.
Present.
Mike Jerry.
Present. You have minutes from the Maiden of May 3rd, 2021.
I'll move with the motion, we accept the minutes as presented.
Motion by Mike Reeder, second by Joe. Root. Roll call.
Rick Hennigan.
Aye.
Joe Root.
Aye.
Mike Reeder.
Aye.
Kim Brewer.
Aye.
Mike Kelly.
Aye. No public participation. As people give their reports, we'd like for you to step up to the, because some of us have more difficulty hearing in this large room than other people. So, yeah. So if you wouldn't mind doing that. Andrew, you're close here. You
Okay. I reconciled April. In meetings, we're all good there. They said we could get a few sent to journals. But we're looking really good so far. We don't have a lot of journals that we need to send back and forth between the two systems, at least for the balance of this year. So we're good there. Last meeting, Rick asked me if I could take a look at the tickets that we've got open for support with Tyler, and that was what I passed out to you there. So, that was about the only way I could get it on one page and keep on putting information in line with each other. This actually is shorter than the list when I pulled it Tuesday, May the 4th. Because I pulled it the next day just to see where we were at. And I emailed our contact and let him know that, when we had this issue last year, they were doing a good job of staying on top of it and everything, as if they were kind of getting a little lax with it. So he said he put a team on it, and they worked on it a lot. I think there's 31 here, if I remember correctly. And that Tuesday, there was 44. And that's not including any that had open and closed in between that time. So I'm sure that there were probably some.
Yes, and rather urgent ones that are still open.
Yeah. And there's a couple out there, update available. I think there's.
Those that say update available have already been updated. And they're still not working.
Okay. So that's some feedback.
We have,
Have you been-
those calls are updated to say that.
So still have some work to do on those things. But yeah, they did quite good work. Those two meetings. Yeah, so it's really
Well, for one, I appreciate the data here. And I asked for this just because I didn't know. So we have about 8 or 10 priority critical items. And I guess my request would be for the right people to get with Tyler and these get a commitment to those who are getting addressed, worked on, escalated in their company. And then I'd like to see where we are 30 days from now on those critical. Because I think that the difficulty with this is to keep it tamped down over time. And it's like anything else. People get busy, they work on the squeaky wheel. If we're not the squeaky wheel, we don't get as much priority. So
It looks like some of these, I'm just looking at it now, have basically modified in the past 10 days on the critical side.
Andrew, some of those that say modified, it's modified whether it's by them or by us.
Okay, so it's probably
And we
once.
have been going in once a week and saying, where are we on this with no response?
just Stacy, when you say that, when you say you're going in once a week, is that by email or by phone calls?
It's probably
It's
on their-
through that portal.
It's their, yeah, which is
Their
what they
ticketing
asked us to
portal.
do. When we had this party last year, that was what the request from them was to not use their telephone support system and to do it through the portal, which I think we complied with for the most part.
We always place a call. If we can't get an answer on the call, we start calling on the phone and reference that call number.
Yeah.
We've been able to get some calls closed that way, but a lot of them are still sitting open.
So
You lost me there. So when you say you always place a call, do you mean you always go into their database and enter? And
We place a call on their database. That's what they call it, a call,
it is a ticket.
a ticket.
So you're not familiar with call, tells me phone number.
Yeah, they, for some reason, they refer to these as calls, which is confusing to me, but
So I guess Stacy's saying we're not getting a lot of follow-up to our trouble ticket
It-
reporting in their database.
seems like, yeah, it seems like some of these more critical ones. They must not be,
I have a call that's been open for over a year that's critical, has to do with our reporting, which we found out is worse than we thought it was, just this last month. It's been open for over a year, still no resolution. It's been referred to development, and whenever anything is said, it's always, well, it's in development. No resolution on that. I've sent multiple emails. We have another one where we have a day, they had an issue where whenever you took a credit card payment, it was duplicating, not all the time, but it would duplicate a payment and then it would turn around and correct itself. But when it corrected itself, it corrected it as cash. So we have March 26th, business day, has been unable to be closed because of one of these batch issues that shows that one of my staff members are off $249 because of their error in running it. I finally on Friday got them to fix it in Tyler Cashiering, but it didn't fix it in Munis, and the call's still sitting open. But that was with making multiple phone calls and addressing the ticket. We have 3 open bill runs right now that we cannot print the bills and get the bills sent out that we've been dealing with for a week. We have 3 calls for the applied credits process where it's taken customers' credits or deposits and is supposed to apply it to the account. It's only taken a certain dollar amount from the first person and it's not posting it anywhere else. So all of our journals are off, which makes the days balancing off. Those calls have been open for over a week.
Here's my thoughts. And I don't want to speak with the word, so Jeff can chime in here. But I will say this, I don't think our board meeting is the place to try to detail or work on or even list those kinds of ongoing issues. We're going to always have those. It's software after all. But I'm going to ask Todd, as our GM, to work with you, Stacy, as the office manager, and Andrew as a logger. Todd, can you figure out a process, what the process looks like to periodically escalate things that are not being addressed sufficiently for the billing office to function well?
I think the quickest way to do that, and we've implemented before, is to stop paying the bill. That's what I'm moving before, but this has all been implemented. We've already put in one implementation and it worked, and it stopped again. We need to go back to we need to go back to the beginning of where we was at and go at it again with it.
If that's your solution, it makes sense to me. But
I mean, you sat in on the meetings.
I purposely did, yeah.
Yeah, and
We did get their attention.
Yeah.
And 6 months ago, again, it's the squeaky wheel syndrome. We became the squeaky wheel, and they began addressing our issues and so forth. I guess I'm asking, what would your ongoing process be so that if a board member doesn't ask about how we're doing, we're going ahead and we have a process to find our critical items. If they're not being addressed, as Stacy's reporting here, how do those get escalated by us? When do we start, when we trigger you coming to the board and saying, we're going to stop payment because we've got 3 issues? I'm looking for something that keeps us from having a special situation that we have to stop the presses. You know what I mean?
Well, from my perspective here, we can call the guy that we talked to last time, and at least try to get that phone call conversation going before the next quarterly meeting is due. And if we decide to go forward with that one, then we can, but
I would agree with that.
we're doing the process that they asked us to do, and I mean, it feels like you guys are micromanaging these a little bit too heavy, more than you should be, and
And we've also reached out to our project manager several times and have her emailing them also, and the techs aren't even responding to her emails.
yeah, because last week, Stacy and I talked, I said, all you can do is start emailing her every day. And just be a thorn in her side, and then she has responded. She responded with several emails last week, but like Stacy said, that there are people in their own organization aren't responding to her. There's nothing that I or any of us can do if those people don't respond. Yeah.
Well, I would just throw it open to Todd. You work amongst, if you don't mind, Stacy, Andrew. I think it's all good discussion. If I were to go as a board member, I'd be pretty heavy-handed. My perspective is they probably see us as a customer who's made some investment and probably not going to change off their platform anytime soon. And we're simply not getting the service that we're paying for in my readout. And if we have to be a squeaky wheel, I don't mind doing that. But we need a process to do that. So Stacy doesn't feel like it's all on her shoulders, for example, or Andrew. So would that be fair if you could kind of?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Gentlemen, anything else?
I could just have a quick, why do we have 2 open, one from 2015 and 2018? Is that something that kind of alarmed me that they would just sit on something for 7 years? And I'm sure not one to agree either.
There's a call that's still open from when we first, I think, like you said, 2015, I think it has something to do with Tyler University. It was our project manager that even opened that case, Lindsay Fulton, and I don't even know
it's up to.
what that call is for.
It's up to a high for every now before it's meeting, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not even sure why it was opened or what about at this point in time, so.
We can for a second. So it's sort of in 2018, GIS data per customer.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's shame.
He would be
Is it no problem?
It's an issue with, we wanted to do the mapping portion between Itron and Tyler. So it's, I'll check with people on our side to see where we're at on it, to see if there's anything that we need to do and push it back to Tyler again.
Well, my question would be, is it a want, is it something we want, or is it something we need? And is it something that Tyler says they can do? Is it a valid trouble ticket, or are we asking for a feature enhancement we didn't pay for?
I can't answer if it's a want or a need. It's just something came before me that was requested.
Okay. So Joe, I guess it's a mixed bag. I think there's probably some of these things on here that if we look at it real hard, it's entirely valid to take them off the list and just call them a non-issue at this point. As long as we're comfortable it's a non-issue. There's something going back to that has to do with Tyler training, Tyler U, that might be a good candidate, that can take it off the list. We don't even know what's about.
Well, I know what Tyler University is about. I just don't know why she opened the call.
You don't know what this trouble is.
Mhm.
Yeah. So if we're in that position 7 years later, I'd vote to take it off the list, get the list cleaned up. So, okay, that's a good comment, Joe. I'll leave it from my perspective on that. I just want to see us manage it. I don't want it managing us. So,
Anything else?
That's all I got.
thank you.
Stacy, anything?
That was all I had to.
We just didn't want to come up. Betty Phil, in my neighborhood today, so come on over.
One I got to report is 28 West Project. We're done third day now. So communication, which is cable TV, used to be Kentucky Data, switch times. So they get off the poles, then we go back through and pull our poles. Yeah, so we're all out of the way. And then, of course, everybody's got to be power outage. That came from a goose.
A goose, yeah, they thought it was a bald eagle at first, but it's a goose.
Got into Duke Energy substation there, at Kelly and Jackson, just west of the elevator. 16,000 volt substation. And it created a big fault, which in turn found a weak spot by Mike's house. It spliced the wire together. Wire fell into our stuff. So we was able to, we got everything out of our front end, so we knew it was going to be off past experience, so we went ahead, switched all over, and we got the customer back on. That was exciting for today.
We can switch back tomorrow, don't we?
We should be able to switch back on that.
Okay. Just curious. I'm working on it, they'll fix it tomorrow.
They fixed it. It's, they isolated 69 to be able to get feedback to our fairground setup. So we have power back to feed fairground setup. And then they had a highline crew come in, Coconut, and they put the wire back. But when we did our switch, we had to isolate that section because their wire was straight down through ours. So we isolated the grounds off for that. They fixed theirs. It was probably 5 o'clock that come up. We went through our grounds and cut that little section. So tomorrow we'll be able to, should be able to put feedback from them.
Did any part of the industrial park lose power?
Yes.
Yes. The old Mallory's.
Centurions, or whatever it's called now.
And then was Tri-Max right close to
Fontana Fasteners is on.
They feed out our fairground substairs. And then we had some equipment failure due to the result of the outage. So it took a while to try to troubleshoot it, get it north down. So they was back up and running about 4 o'clock.
Do we put anything out communication wise?
Yeah, and he had it going out on all the city stuff. Of course, the phone was ringing off the wall, and then I got a hold of Ken and him and Kevin discussed the situation so that they knew, people knew what was going on with the radio as well. So we have it all covered.
And the headline was good news.
At the time I talked to, I did, no, I didn't, did I tell you it was a goose at the time? Yeah, so, yeah, the goose is cooked at this point in time, is what it was.
You didn't bring us a snack.
That's all I got.
That's a dish.
If we have any, when it came down on 69 line came down there, that lines did damage to our line.
One phase was sitting right smack dab in the middle. I don't know if it was-
It's a wonder it didn't, because there was a heck of a big spark there. It's-
When I got there, I was at Arby's eating lunch, and I made a phone call. And found out what wrong with that. And as soon as I got there, he came back home. So I witnessed the fireball coming in the road, and then Mike was standing in his, so called him, so he put his truck sideways. And then by then, the city officers was there, and they got the but those people want to go around, people want to leave, housing issue, right over.
You drive right by it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a, to them, it's a long slow bar laying on the road. I don't understand that early in the hours, but most people do.
Todd told me, put your truck over there, but don't get too close.
You go back inside.
Go back inside.
And I had a perfect people who want to leave, they shouldn't have all that to drive my truck. You know what that happened?
One lady did go through the yard the other way though,
Did you?
on the other side of the street.
Places to go, I guess.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, of course.
Chris, you're up.
When I first submitted the wildlife protection plan, it's a 5-year update that they actually wrapped up. And I have to do one sooner, next time around, just kind of depend on what my it says. As we'll have the 2 new wells in there, so that delineation will change somewhat. But it's kind of up to them, where they let us go a full 5-year term. We got our meters in, the first batch of meters, 1,000 of them. So Tyler is supposedly going to be wrapping up around May 27th or 8th, I think it is. We'll have a test program basically to get to Badger. So we'll put out, I think it's 32 or 36 that they will put out and test it, which will look right. Before we go pull in replacing the 1,000. Maintenance guys have been wrapping up some hydrants from late last fall that were slow to drain, so they can just, if they're above a certain year, they just go in, back them beside them, and basically cut the deep holes, so they're drain. So, and then a lot of pipeline up there, for our concrete, water maintenance.
From State Road 75, which side's the new park?
East,
The old one's on this side.
yeah, just west of the. Shoot, airmont across. That's good from that, the sewer is just underneath, that's all right. They're trying to do it between the two. They've done really pretty good.
When they gonna go live with that, so they had to do that.
The new main's already, it's
Oh, is it?
pressure tested, back to, I'm gonna say half of it. The south half is already on the new main. I think they were expecting to maybe wrap up the rest, but maybe 2 to 1 this week. So it's gonna be that much.
That we camera in our sewer mains, if they've been through it yet.
Well, they're not going far. They'll still be.
Yeah, we'll be doing the loop next. So we'll still be.
What's part of their bid, was their bid to fix that road back up?
I believe the way the NDOT said, they can leave it stoned. and they'll be right in afterwards to pay. That's what we would then put the new main in.
Is there a pavement stretch?
Yes.
How far? Out to sea.
I think it's to Union Road or somewhere right there. I believe. That's what- for sure.
I think that's where they're going.
I think it's somewhere right in Union Road.
That's the plans I got. Yeah.
It's rough.
Yeah.
Very right.
It'll be a similar.
Yeah.
Two there, or two there, 5 and 6 times a day.
Yeah.
Morning coming back. I said, I went by there one day. They were,
30, 15.
Anything else? Questions? Thanks, Chris. Jim? Sewer maintenance? I guess that's a good place where we'll go back and get it. Go ahead. Get out of the alphabetical order.
We've been televising the actual homes, the 2 cleanouts in there, and then we finished the 2 on Warren Avenue. We get out of construction. We have 1 more to do down there, and we have 2 on the north side of the road. When they tear that side, it'll be repaired. And just been cleaning, televising some of it. 13 minutes.
Really good baseball.
Got baseball, that's all things. Wait, concrete, straight cut.
Couldn't believe when it showed me baseball.
That's all I got.
It's amazing what you can learn sometimes, though, when they, what was that thing called in the middle of the street on Washington Avenue? A fill, where,
Flush tank.
a flush tank.
Yeah, there we go. I could tell them not bad also, but
Yeah, what bunch of fell in on that? That's a, I didn't even know they did such a thing.
flush tanks, years ago, had water line going to them, dead end sewer. So when the flush tank filled up, cap opened in the sewer, and that flush tank flushed them off. Well, none of them's in working use now, so the flush tanks are still there next to a dead end manhole. Effectively, they're digging beside one, and it was an abandoned one already filled up the same. But the water line there was already completely out. But we have most of them that's still in town, so that's a live water line. to them. But they're not used. It was a full sand, it had already been capped, the top had already been taken off, and the whole flush tank been full of sand. But within redoing the road, I had called locate in to remove it before they put the new road in, so we don't have problem. If we get it down the road, they call and say, this flush tank. We'd already planned to move it, and I went down there when they were down there, I told them fill the top off, we fill the top off, and no rain away. We started locating, trying to find rain away, but couldn't find rain away. But if you look at manholes beside it, there's a line going back west to the flush tank that was seen in the shut. But when we fill the top of it, and the state inspector on that job was all right, but it's saying the same. So we just have to cave it in. The same.
PJ?
We passed our first round of bond money this year. We do it twice a year, so we're doing it in October. And the last 2 weeks, we basically just been remodeling our lab. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Todd and the board for allowing us to purchase the new cabinets.
Looks like a whole different place out there. It
Yes,
really
it does. Yes, it does.
BJ, I want to thank you for the tour you gave me out there. It was more of a tour than I thought I was getting. I got $10,000 tour, and we went everywhere.
I should give you the 20,000.
I didn't notice so many steps out there up and down, but thank you for that. Appreciate it. I saw a lot of stuff that I didn't even know existed. So,
You didn't see it all.
yeah, no, sure did.
Did you go to the incoming screen? You take your.
I'm, yeah,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
because everybody can see that.
Yeah, you see that, that's fascinating. The lab is great. The capacity expansion, man, big stuff.
Yeah, it's a fascinating place. And BJ knows the ins and outs of it. So,
PJ, most people, probably on behalf of the board, man, we appreciate you keeping an eye on things, and keeping it going in the right direction out there. You know, great job. Chris is gonna get same thing. I mean, we ain't even started. We had, I don't know how many meetings in the last, 2 weeks with issues, and so,
I can tell you, I don't make a lot of food. Between, we're not right by them.
That's correct.
that's,
We're trying to keep them honest.
Yeah.
I would, always try to say, try to play closer than what I have to do. They got all the money, all the, it's a hard game to play with. We're doing our best.
That's why you're there. I mean, you're not there to be best buddies with the contractors, that won't work.
Well, I tell that to Eric at least once a day, if they like you, you wouldn't be doing your job.
Right, that's just the nature of things.
Right.
and I believe you will have the support of the board out there with whatever. You and Todd.
Appreciate it.
I don't remember, I just was new on the board when we were finishing the last project out there. And I don't ever remember hearing the kind of, and seeing the kind of follow-up reports weekly and all that that we're getting now. It just helps a whole lot to know, see what's going on.
We got one of the best inspectors I think we could have out there right now.
I haven't never seen one better, so. Just
Pictures, detailed information. I can walk up and ask a question, he's got an answer.
I think we're gonna have,
How much more information we were receiving, that we never received before on any of the projects.
I think you'll see the same stuff out of the item water. From what I know about him and what he's doing right now, I think well, if we can hold him to the same standard, it will be in great shape. If we can get 3/4, I think we're still gonna get in very, very good shape from what we're getting from Eric, but from the cooperation we're getting from all of them right now is tremendous.
Mike, anything you want to add to kind of summarize everything that's under your watchful eye out there?
Or everything seems to be going smoothly, and I agree with everybody that we're keeping the contractor on us. PJ is, Chris is. We're doing a great job, so I'm glad to see it going so well.
Before you start yours, Todd, one of the things I've noticed as I go around, and especially since I have to deliver something to Jimmy John's once a day practically, that if we hadn't gone to where we had our own locator, I can't imagine how we'd be keeping up with all these projects that are going on out here.
It's tough. I mean, Brad struggles some days. I'm just flat out honest. And I mean, anybody that has been involved can, from a digging standpoint, he doesn't have much hair and he's ready to pull some of it out, but he's been good at asking for help. And our guys are doing a tremendous job from Chris and Jim's guys and from electric with Rob, or if Rob's out, somebody else jumps in. And we give him a hand, but it's not very often really, but he's on the go. And I'll let you know that you mentioned him and stuff, but it would be tough if we were pulling people from all our different departments. That's all that they would be doing. doing, and then we'd be struggling. We'd be struggling.
And that's
elsewhere.
just the construction project, not even counting the person's gonna put up a basketball goal or something.
Exactly. So, it's going well. I think that whole procedure is gone, or that whole, going to one locator and doing all the utilities has been a tremendous asset. I'm glad we got approval to do that. But, there are days for Brad that he's, I've had to talk him off the ledge a couple times, but he gets there, and like I said, everybody else jumps in when he does need help, and he's not afraid to ask for help, and that's what we do.
Okay, we're ready for you.
Okay. We received all the bids last Monday for the West Side Sub rebuild, redo, whatever you want to call it, upgrades. Quotes came in fairly close to one another, and Spectrum has them now under review, and we should have the final answer of who to go with and issue purchase orders and stuff by the end of this week from their recommendation. So we received several bids, I think 3 transformer bids, 6 switchgear bids, and 4 breaker bids. And so they were all pretty competitive with one another. There was always one in there that was way out of that. One person on the transformer was double what other people were, but for the most part, they came in pretty competitive. So we're looking forward to getting that ball rolling. I think the longest lead time was on transformer was 36 weeks for the transformer. Everything else was within that scope. And the last people that did this transformer that went on and on and on, they did not even bid this time, which we didn't want them to. So they didn't ask for any information or anything. So we don't have to worry about them being the low bidder pushed over. One of the things I think Ken could talk to all the board members and was the roof on the electric building. We met with them, Steve Myers and I did on Friday, and gave them their deposit check. They're going to start moving in material next week and start June 1st on that project.
Who is that?
Blue Ribbon Roofing, is that what it is? Perhaps Blue Ribbon Roofing.
That's because the roof is blue, is that?
No. But seemed to be pretty good. It was the owner of the company that came down and met with us last week. He's expecting them to be on site from 7 a.m. to dark when they're doing this project. It'd be about a 2-week project for them. And so he was happy to get the job and the material he had locked up. He gave us a 7-day quote on the material, and we got everything laid in place before that. So we don't have to worry about it coming back next week and raising the price on us. So we have that one done, taken care of.
Is that this building as well, or just?
Part of this building, or this building's gonna get the snow guards because the roof slopes so much. We don't have the snow guards, and it's tore off the gutters around. So they're gonna put the snow guards up and go from a 4-inch gutter to a 6-inch gutter. So this building is being taken care of along with that building at the same time. And we had competitive quote on that, but then we weren't really comparing apples to apples on what we were going to do. This one's going to be a complete tear off and new metal mold completely on it. So we thought that was the best way to go. Miller Pipeline will be in town next week, correct, Jim? To start the lining on the 28 sewer line. Get that infiltration stuff taken care of, and then Cooley will be right behind them to do the manholes. So we have that in place and rolling. And then the other thing is this handout or not the handout, but this water feeds. Alicia and Chris and I met last week actually, and then this got put together. And tonight I'd just like to get it open for discussion and see if there's anything that we need to change, so that we can hopefully get it approved at the next meeting, unless everybody wants to approve it tonight. Won't hurt my feelings. But because we gotta go through what public hearing, Alicia, and then we have to go to council with it and
Well,
everything too.
We won't do the public hearing,
The
council,
council will,
yeah,
okay,
they'll do the public hearing, but it has to go, I think we have to, I think the council has to introduce that on first reading, then have the public hearing, and then make it,
do the rest of it,
yeah.
okay.
rest of it. And then we also have to send out notices, so Stacy will probably be in touch with you at some point for that, to everybody, and,
But, most of these fees are new fees that we're adding to our ordinance. Some of them, Chris, maybe 5 out of this are old ones that we're just wanting to change and increase. And Chris has done a lot of work. I mentioned this at the last meeting that this would become, but Chris has done a lot of work on comparing other cities, what they're doing, and that's where some of these new rates, not rates, I keep saying that, I get remember on fees, come into place. You know, we never had meter tampering in there, and we do get people that like to do that. And, it's time to start charging people for doing those things, but it's just time to get in and increase these fees from where they're at, because we're not even covering our labor costs when things happen, especially like on a weekend or after hour turn-offs or turn-ons. When we were running 24/7, it's a different story, but we're not doing that anymore. We're getting lean and mean, and it's time to, I guess, basically, you know, at this point.
Well, I've got one of the 2 people that provided input to you.
Mhm.
Who's in it?
You, Chris, Joe, and I.
Chris, okay, yeah. Good thing who was, it was Chris. I have 2 quick comments. When we talk about fees for normal hours are 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, I'd like to see the official fee schedule explain that maybe an asterisk that that's for Monday through Friday days that are not city holidays. City holidays are not at that rate. And then my other comment is simply, I'd like for the fees to represent the cost of service. And so it's for the several fees that are $15 or $25. In my estimation, those are a nice round $100 fee, because that's the cost we're going to incur to do the work. That's just my opinion. I can be disagreeing.
That's a borderline call, Rick, on that.
Just my opinion.
Well, you know, it is what it is. We'll do whatever the board's desire is. But a lot of times on, like, if we get not so much of a reread, but a reconnect, those are coming in areas from their books, what they should call books, I call routes, where they're in that local area already anyway, pretty much for the better part of the day. So it's not like going from point A to point B. They don't have to go clear out here by Walmart, clear back across town. So that's why those are like that. But if you want to make it, we can make them whatever the desire is.
Or let's hear from more board members. I'm not even on that utility, so.
Yeah, but you're all in this together. When it comes down to this, we're all in it together.
You know, I think reconnect fees after hours are $90. You know, that's what I asked Chris earlier. You know, we got a $30 an hour guy. It's time and a half, so that's 45. We're paying them 2 hours.
Correct.
So that's $90. But we've also got gas for them to come to the plant, grab the pickup truck. We've got truck usage, wear and tear on the truck. That we should be in there. I think that number, that needs to be high.
Okay. What do we get for electric? What
$125 for
is it?
electric.
115 or 125?
125,
125 for electric.
because it's 43,
Yeah, it's 43.
43 during the day, and then we have to add an additional 82 if after hour to make it 125.
I was thinking it was 115, but you're correct.
So ours would be a total of 150 then, or 140, like states right now. Because the disconnect, the 50 is applied at the time of the disconnect is the way it's written.
Right, so they
So if it's a
get charged.
reconnect, if you want anything turned on after 5 o'clock, Monday through Friday, normal working days, like you're saying, it's $90 on top of that 50.
So to clarify, they get charged the 50 regardless. And
At the
if they
time of
want it,
disconnect. as
and
well.
then if they want it reconnected after hours, then they pay
It's
an
it's
additional.
$90 charge.
Well,
Is the way it's worded.
that kind of goes back to the whole reconnect, disconnect thing, because if you're charging them a disconnect fee, that would be separate than the reconnect.
And there are towns that do that.
Is there a reason that water is different than electric?
Electrics is set by the IURC. They adjusted our rates when we did
Is
the
there a
rate
reason
study.
our fee is different for water than electric? Could it be that simple?
It can be that simple.
I don't see a weekend, Saturday or Sunday, and I know that was talked about.
That's the after hours.
That's
fee.
the after.
That was all under IURC.
Well, it said Monday through Friday.
Well, normal hours are. Any reconnect which occurs after the hours of 8 AM to 5 PM Monday through Friday should be required to pay a fee. So anytime outside of that window, which I can clarify. the language.
Well, I mean, we talked about a weekend hookup on there. I just seen Monday through Friday, after 5. I didn't see the weekend on the Saturday or Sunday.
Specified.
Or holiday.
The purpose of what I put, and I think I could put the language a little bit better, was just to say anytime outside of 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. So that would include weekends. But I can clarify that for sure.
Monday through Friday.
So,
Or holiday.
I don't have anything about holidays in here, so that I need to add, and then I will clarify the language so that it says more plainly that it includes weekends.
Chris, we get a call at 4:50 for a reconnect on a Thursday afternoon. Guys there at 5:30.
Who's there to 5, or yeah, so Jim Chires, our service man, he gets that goes off on his phone, and he goes and does that, and he writes down a half hour.
So,
We just ran into that on the electric one day last week. Stacy and I had this conversation before the meeting started.
so, I'm getting at, we call it 8 to 5, but, we start getting these 4:50s.
And we get those
Happens all the time.
Right.
all the time.
Well, I think we need to address it.
5 o'clock is 5 o'clock. in
You
my
know,
opinion.
I mean, if it's, they're after 5 o'clock on Monday through Friday, it turns around and it kicks in the after hours.
Or we change the after hours to like 4:30. And then that gives us half hour to get the call, get it done. To either way, because that's what Stacy and
I don't have a problem with that.
Either that or good the next day. If they want to go up and pay at 4:45, we can't get a guy out there. They'll be reconnected at 8 o'clock tomorrow.
There's a lot of calls that come in at 4:45 in there.
I seen the list the other day.
You want to change that to 4:30, Monday, 8 to 4:30?
I think it'd be better than 5.
Okay.
To get that, we need to, obviously, with our other department, electric, it's the same.
Yeah, well, I know we had
all
one
the
last week, because I ran into Jim Black on his way back, and he was getting back into town about 5. He was on, he had to go, or almost born.
For electric,
Hey.
what's the timing, the demarcation of the day, normal hourly rate? Is it 4:30, is it 5?
Well, that's what Stacy and I were talking about earlier, that they get the calls, and then if the call comes in, our guys are still here at 5, they take off, and it's just a normal reconnect. But if we change this, we can change our time on electric. It's just that we can't change the fees on it. So if we want to set this as at 4:30, we can carry that over to electric as well. That anything after 4:30 is going to be an after hours
I'm
call.
tracking with you on that, but this 4:30 doesn't really help us that much.
Yeah,
It should be 4 o'clock.
No,
no,
A half
because
hour.
you get a lot of people that are getting off work, they get home, they find out, or they find out that they've been disconnected, which they should have known for 10 days.
60 days.
Uh,
I don't.
Yeah,
60
you're,
days.
yes, you're
61
correct.
days, they don't get disconnected till 60.
So the reason about having said it is because they don't just drive home and discover the power's off, the water's off. How do we do it?
Hey, and like I said, it's up to you guys. We'll change it to what it is.
I got a call today from a guy that showed up at home and had no water. country.
Well, sorry about that.
He was near where the alley stood.
Oh, okay.
That was good.
One other thing on the holidays and Sundays, for electric, we do not reconnect on Sundays or holidays.
Okay,
And
So
I don't think
however
we
you
should
want to
do
handle that
water.
with water. But we only do on Saturdays, it's only 8 to noon on Saturdays. And then there is no Sunday or holiday after hours.
Is that written down somewhere?
It's in the IURC thing for the rates.
I'm wondering why we're not doing the same for water.
alright, I'll change that.
Are we, I think we're bending over backwards for it.
Probably do what, disconnect from Sunday morning, do you?
No,
Why would we be even hooking up on a Saturday or a Sunday? They paid their bill late Friday.
Or they may
call
The
us.
only
Saturday.
time you guys do a reconnect is when Stacy's office calls and tells them they need to reconnect.
they can get a call from,
We get a
From
call from central
dispatch.
dispatch. Because electric's phone number is what's attached to the disconnect bill.
Okay.
So after their office closes at 4 o'clock, the calls roll to central dispatch.
Okay.
On the weekends and holidays, it rolls to central dispatch. So if it's after 5 PM, central dispatch will then call the billing office call phone. And then we call the customer and get payment, and then we call electric and water out to go reconnect.
So they call you and it rings over to, they call you at home.
Central dispatch will call, we
How
have
do you take
this,
the payment?
I take the payment from
You
the
take-
customer.
Are you on the clock? Are you billing, are you turning in time for 3 hours of labor? Or
I don't get any time for my labor, but I get a $12 a day call out fee.
I didn't know that. But it just means something.
I think we need to bring this, obviously this is the first I get to see.
right, they just got done this afternoon, and that's why I was,
I want to look at it.
that's fine. I know, I expect
A
that.
little more.
Okay.
So as of right now, what I've got is we make sure I understand, we want to change the hours from 8 AM to 4:30 PM. We want to put 8 to noon on Saturday, we want no Sunday and no holiday. And that's all I've got that we definitely want to change, is that correct?
Well, the reconnect.
The
is
reconnect
90,
fee.
that's Still.
I think reconnect.
To 125.
But can we decide to do that?
Yeah, the reconnect fee, I think definitely needs to go to, what you said,
125.
125. Yeah.
Okay,
So do you, what's the fee during the day? Not, what'd you say, 50?
It's the regular disconnect fee, yes.
So it's more than electric, so we're good on that.
and it's 50.
It's-
That would be the disconnect.
So we're gonna change that to 50. No, the reconnect.
The reconnect, after hour reconnect,
During
No.
normal hours,
Normal hours is 15. What is it for electric?
it's 50.
43.
43.
For the normal reconnect, they just pay the disconnect fee, and then if it's during hours, they only pay the disconnect fee, and they get it turned back on. If it's after hours, then they pay the reconnect fee in addition to the disconnect fee. So really, if we change this to 125, they're really paying 175. They pay 50 for the disconnect fee, and then 125 for the reconnect fee, if they get reconnected after hours.
Can I throw a wrench in there? Sorry. So electric, Chris and I had this conversation. Electric's fee is called a reconnect fee.
Okay.
The way that our system works, when we do the cutoff process, it automatically applies that fee.
Okay.
But it's technically a reconnect fee, not a disconnect fee. So if the customer never comes and pays their bill, when we final that account to take it to court, we have to go in and refund those fees because they were never reconnected. We thought in these fees that we call the water one a disconnect fee, it automatically gets applied and then we never have to refund it. So then you have the difference between it's a disconnect fee and a reconnect fee.
Then with that luxury being turned on after 5 o'clock through the week, then they're gonna pay the $90 or whatever you guys said that. You have it like,
Like 125.
Were there any other things that I missed? that we definitely want to change, because I'll go ahead and make those changes, and I can email out.
I'm gonna argue, there's two items here, turn on for new service, $15. Temporary turn on, turn off, normal hours. To me, that's, we're doing the same thing, we're turning the water service on or off. And I think, again, something, $15 is way too cheap. I picked the number of 100, but I'll defer to Kent, their board members.
Rick, can I,
Well, anything, I think, to me, turning on temporary or permanent, I don't know why we have to have that distinction.
those guys are going to go out to get a reading off the meter anyways.
So-
Whether they're turning on or not,
Why
they're
are
still
they-
having,
Why are they doing the meter reading?
because they have to get a reading because it's going from one customer to another customer. So even if they're not turning the water on, they're still having to get a reading to make sure that there's no usage and so that we can get a final bill.
So I want our fees to cover our costs, that's all I'm saying. And $15 won't even pay the monthly.
I just based them off what other communities charge.
No, I understand. I'm just telling you that's not enough money. I don't care if Lebanon's collecting $15, it's not enough.
You guys make the decision.
Well,
I think Kent's one of those first, so.
well, one of the things, back to your point, Rick, on the temporary turn on and turn off after hours, that needs to be the same as a reconnect.
Yes.
After hours, so that 90 needs to be 125 if we're gonna do that.
I agree.
I guess I kind of wonder if it's a new customer coming in, getting water. I don't know, should we really charge it for that because we're gonna pay for the water?
Currently, if a brand new customer comes in and they're starting service at a location that has their water shut off, they only have to pay $5. $10 is if it's someone who's maybe like a landlord or someone that they're doing it multiple times. It's going on and off and on and off, so they get charged $10 each time.
So where's the $5 and $10 fee on this list?
It's not because it's the old fees.
But you're doing something now for $5 or $10?
And on there it says 15.
That's why this is to you, because our rates are our fees. Aren't you saying?
So if I call in and say, I don't agree with my water bill, so we send a guy out there, and he's gonna take the meter out, put it in his truck, drive out to the plant, and test this meter for the first time for free.
Those are IURC rules that we have to still follow.
Well,
That's the way they're
no.
read.
We don't have to follow those rules, but when we discussed it at the meeting, we decided that we would follow them, but we can change them. So the IURC lays out that if we're gonna do a meter test, the first one should be free and the second one should be free as long as it follows certain guidelines. We do not subscribe to the IURC for water, so if we want to change them, we can, but that's just what those are based on.
We can't test it at the plant, we have to send it off.
How many meters of your,
So then what's that cost us?
Probably $50 to $60 to have them tested. That's if I can get the meter rep to take it, drop it off, basically, and.
So if somebody complains, we go out there and we're just gonna put a new meter in it, and what are we doing with this old?
Basically scrap it, because if it's old enough, you can't put it back in the system because of lead.
So how many of them are we?
Virtually none.
That's what I was getting.
Yeah. Can you recall somebody that, to my knowledge, I don't know of anyone that has complained.
We have people complain of
That has,
reread, but
has asked for their meter to be tested.
electric we get, but water we don't usually get. They'll want rereads, but they don't complain about their actual meter. They just want.
Reread, we're getting $15.
Unless there's a leak, then we wait.
I mean, the meter test fee, first and second test, I don't think we
just take it out.
well, my first thought is, I mean, it's free, and obviously we're not testing.
Okay.
The only
We're bringing
reason,
them back to plant and throwing them in the trash.
the only reason I would say leave it in here is if we did decide that we wanted to test them, and that you have a customer who's a pain in the butt, and they call 7 times in 7 months, and they want to test it over and over again, then we'll have no recourse to get any money back for those.
No, we're not right now. Who owns the meter? Isn't the meter ours?
Yes.
Then we just tell Brock that it's our meter, is good. But if we got that same customer that calls us.
We could do that, but I think we're gonna get sued if we do that. I feel like what IURC has, and again, we don't have to go with this, but they say, if you request in writing that you get the meter tested, then you get the meter tested. If they request in writing a second time within the first 12 months, then they cannot get it tested for free. So they have to wait 12 months, then they can get it tested a second time. And then if they request it more than that, or within the 12 months, then we can charge them for it. It's really not an issue if we're just disposing of the meters, I agree. But if we ever get new meters that, like we're replacing meters, if those want tested, then we're not gonna be able to recover any funds. That's the only reason.
Well, but we're not recovering right now.
We're not recovering the first 2 tests as long as they request it in writing and they do it after 12 months of each other.
But if we're gonna take this meter and then send it off and get $60 in it.
I'm just telling you, this is what the IURC recommends. We can charge them for it.
We
the
could
first time.
potentially have some complaints going in with the new meters. Because,
Yes, people are gonna get bigger bills.
exactly.
So if
So there's gonna be a lot of complaints when they start going in because they're ultrasonic versus some of them are 20, 25-year-old mechanical meters. I wouldn't be surprised to see some of those double.
so
And
if
then they're gonna say, there's no way, I've been using 4 or 5 units every month for the last 6 years, how can I go to 10 or 12?
So if you wanted to, you could put a charge in there for the first time. You can take out the second time outside of Indiana Administrative Code guideline part, and you could just say any meter test costs X number of
I
dollars.
think that would be the best way to go.
That's up to you. However you like,
No one's better at it.
because we don't have to follow it.
No one's gonna. In fact, the question I'm gonna ask is, just think of okay, when do we start filing paperwork, get elected out of IURC? So probably, we looked into that, I'm gonna say 6, 7 years ago.
It was before
And
I,
it, yeah. And $285,000 straight up from.
We actually did, we got another one, the same thing.
That's a different story.
regardless, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make the changes that you have set in stone. I will email and redraft out to you. You can review it. Feel free to provide me comments if you want. We can bring it up at the next meeting or a subsequent meeting of your choice, and then we can continue to change it or discuss.
I don't know who would be easier for Todd or Stacy, but why don't you also email the rates for electric? We've been talking about how they compare or whatever. And we could go to the website and find out, but it'd be easier probably if we had it.
I can email those to you tomorrow.
I have one more question for, we have a lot of landowners, 38% of our residents live in rental properties in the city. A lot of multifamily 2 to 5 unit apartment houses that are single families. When they have a renter move out, how does the water and electric billing, how's that transaction? Does someone call and do a changeover of the customer? And is there a meter reading in both cases? Or how does that transaction happen?
Depends on the landlords. So with some landlords have all the utilities in their name, and some of them have them in the renter's name. And then when it's in the renter's name, then that's where some of these fees and stuff come into play, is where we're sending guys out for a final read on the meters. Then they gotta report that to the billing office, and then when somebody else moves in, they gotta go out, read the meter again, and start their service.
In the transaction, does the renter of the apartment 5,
Yes,
does that
well,
person call?
once again,
Well-
it depends on the situation.
It depends on the person. We ask that they do, but a lot of tenants just up and move. And then, or they don't pay their bill, they've moved out, they get disconnected, now we've got to take these people to court. But
If we can find them.
if we can find them by then. But in the scenario, we like to see, yes, they call and they say, I'm moving out on June 1st. So on June 1st, what we call final, we send the guys out to get a reading on that meter and final that customer's account with that final water and electric. Get their reading. And then either the landlord has it set to go back, what we call revert to owner. So it goes back into the owner's name. Now we start the bill with what that reading ended at. We start with the other landlords do not have revert to owner. And in that case, it goes to vacant and then we're not billing anything.
Any guesstimate of how many transactions you deal with due to people, renters moving?
It depends on the month. Obviously, warmer months, we do a lot more than the colder months. Also, tax time, I mean, we do a lot. Our customer service office is always busy. There's constant in and outs.
So if our fees are not enough, because of all the renters especially, we're losing an opportunity to cover our costs. That's what my concern is. It's a lot of churn. So, okay. Thank you.
Any more questions, right?
On that.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Claim.
I move we pass the claim that's presented.
Roll call.
Joe Ruble.
Aye.
Mike Reed.
Aye.
Rick Bennett.
Aye.
Kate Brewer.
Aye.
Mike Taylor.
Aye. Alicia, you have any good news? Old business to bring about?
I will think.
Okay.
We talked in our last meeting, I made the request that we volunteer to.
Yep.
speak with the
I'll
city.
tell you about my meeting in the middle of Washington Avenue.
Okay.
I happened to be down there one day when somebody, I think you were down there, weren't you, Jim? Anyway, there was all kinds of people down there. And we talked about these street cuts and I did not talk to the building inspector yet about it, but we got a lot of input from actually the people who are doing the cutting down there. And they're just, the people that are doing the cutting right now on the part that they're working on now seem to comprehend pretty well what needs to be done. It's that one that's already been done on the new part. Everybody's complaining about it, but no one is able to get anything done about it. But I do know that this was actually was Bud McQuaid, who's the inspector or whatever for that one, and was for this part down here. They're working on getting those fixed as part of the project on that phase going back that way.
Fixing them on this side.
Yes.
Can I add to that?
It's just, yeah, Jim.
I was invited to a meeting last week with Case that does the paving and Jason and Don Scott. And Case has not been in town for anything permanent. It's all temporary. They're coming this week to start putting permanent, digging out the coal patch, putting it in there.
So they're ready.
Jason, what's that? Jason did say what is east of Williams that the contractor tore up and cemented to the top. He cannot pay for that out of that project. So the city is going to pay that portion out of their pocket to take care of that because he cannot handle that in the project. Okay, for that. Okay. Case is coming now. The main concern that Jason was telling Case was the whole Burlington Avenue by Milky Way. That's October. That's just cold. He thinks everybody's thinking it's perfect. It's not perfect. We're coming in to salt cut it, dig it out, concrete it, put asphalt.
That's permanent. Been there 9 months.
It's not, well, that one slipped through because Case looked through his paperwork while we said it, he had no indication, no paperwork showing that was his to do. So I called technical one, I said it, and they gave it to him, now he knows that's his to do. That was a week late, they called it, and
they called Patton in to fix it, and did not let the case know that it was going to.
Sounds like a lot of progress. Coming up here.
Hey Clarence, don't we have something on the city ordinance for that?
There is, when they do something to the street, they have to replace it back to,
As is.
as it is before they can.
So how did the concrete patches get past the city ordinance, putting concrete all the way up to the top of the asphalt?
That I can't tell you.
The city's paying for it, right, Jim?
Yes, he said it is.
Clarence, how about you and I will go talk to Don about it?
Okay.
I know here a few years ago, we got in big trouble for having them either too high or too low. Sam Payne come back out and said, fix it.
Actually, there's one right over here. that
Yeah,
actually
one
did
of them
that.
over here, there was one over on Maiden Lane, wasn't it? Right. So again, if we have to abide by those rules, these contractors need to be looked at.
That was something that was brought up in the case.
I think that goes to Don Stock's office.
Clarence,
He's
we'll
the
go
one that has to enforce that.
One of the things, when I talked to Don Scott 2 weeks ago, it isn't even clear that his office is even being notified that there's a street cut going to be made. Because he doesn't have the opportunity to go inspect the work and how it's filled before it's final topped off. The whole process the city put in place depends on the contractor working with the building services. And if they just scoot around that, we get what.
I don't want to defend them, but on the other hand, notice that most of these things that their problems are in where there's these gigantic projects going on. And then people are digging up things everywhere in that area. And then we, for instance, our locator is so busy just because all that stuff going on. Inspectors, they don't know who's got, everybody's digging out on these streets now, like Washington Avenue and Walnut Street. So, do they have to get permits for every one of those? Probably not, because it's all part of the project. So I think they just keep digging.
Well, that's why I wanted you to talk to Don Scott, or someone from the board to talk about. Scott.
We'll get it.
The-
Parents now go there.
The temporary backfill, for instance, on Benton Street near Gilman, which the gas company did that.
Oh, yeah.
That temporary backfill has about 4 inch drop.
The gas company's contract.
And well, the gas company's contracted.
Yeah.
But if they call that a temporary patch, they put in asphalt, now it has a 4 inch drop, maybe they should come back and put a little more asphalt. Just get it a little more.
They did.
And they have, when they're going Armstrong, especially, that they have that same problem there.
Clinton Street, it's back, they put more on. That day of that meeting, okay, he was notified of that.
Okay.
He called his crew while we were sitting right there. And I told him to put more on.
I thought I was gonna lose a friend in the truck about 2 weeks ago, but we were across there 3 1 hour.
And back to the ordinance, he does know that it's 8 inches of concrete, or 6 inches of concrete and 2 inches of asphalt. There you go, there you go. He does know that, but he hasn't been doing that, they've been putting it in. And then,
Oh, all right, good.
But obviously, once somebody comes to you, Jim, and wants a sewer tap, and if it's gonna detail the blacktop of the road, before they can do that, do they have to have where they've signed off with the city?
because they, for one, they can't dig in the street. That's us. But when they call locate in, back when Chuck Tony was the building inspector, they come to our office when he locates into that. So they get the locates now, so they should see it from the locates that they call. And Don did make that point that he has not made his call in the street. Yeah. And if this helps, veterans, so this is the last year.
I don't think they did Washington Avenue. I think that was AT&T.
That was AT&T. Veteran made it clear.
Was the contractor, yes.
I'm not sure they're done yet.
I about bet if you filled your hole on Green Street and you did all the way up with concrete, somebody would be talking to you for the stuff. Am I right?
They have.
You have some more business too.
Yes, one quick thing. Talked with Todd about this shortly. I have not talked with Alicia about it. I asked her after me, but I'll bring it up here. I would like, with permission, to send Jeffrey from IMPA an email. And obviously thank him for enlightening us on a lot of different stuff, from, Duke, Wabash Valley, and IMPA situation. Me as a business person, if there's something out there I want, I'm going to throw a price on it. And so I want to send Jeffrey an email and request IMPA to make us an offer. The next thing that we would need to do, and I think we probably need to talk with Alicia about it, but I think we need to follow the 2-year thing and go ahead and send our notice of termination with Duke. And I believe, talking with Todd, that will turn around and probably make them come forward. My first opinion, I believe we have the silver ball of this whole thing and do not want to sell this thing. And so, we need to see where they're at.
If we sell, we can give them.
Right. We're not going to turn around and put, I have no clue. I mean, we're not going to turn around and say, we want $5 million. And they have to say, here it is, bring us a check the next day. So till we get a number that one of the three will turn around, and then that obviously will be a full determination of basically not this board, it's going to be some attorneys, it's going to have to involve the city, somebody wants Duke. I told Todd, I says, once IMPA makes us an offer, who says we can't go to Wabash Valley? So what's this to you? IMPA's not being straightforward with us, in my opinion. There is some pretty good skin in the game for them somewhere down here. And so if there is, I believe Wabash Valley would be willing to do something, and I believe Duke would also be willing to do something, and that's my opinion. I want the permission of the board to reach out to Jeffrey and see where he's at with it, and send us an offer. I don't believe they will send us an offer to be with us. But that's our next move. I support the request.
I do.
I'd just like to add one thing to that. Do you think we should involve the larger phone board or who usually deals in these type of projects or this type of deals? Find out what they feel.
Well, yeah, I think it's some time. But, right now, we don't have an offer. That guy come here basically asking us to put a price to it. I think we turn the tables and say, you throw us a price.
Maybe we can involve partners in contractors.
I mean,
They got it.
with it. Go ahead, Phil.
I think something you care about on this is if you let that go, this is something that's, really why this town got a lot of land in there. You let that go, they turn around and say, hey, what's the term for the contracts too?
I asked them that question after Phil talked today. I asked them that question, and the answer was, well, I don't know, but maybe we might be able to grandfather that in. So they're looking, I think the tables would turn on us.
1000%.
Yeah.
And when I asked him, I kept trying to ask him about that at the meeting when he was here. He just kept answering out my question and
Yeah.
I really didn't understand what I was talking about.
So I think they could turn the tides on us, but I agree with Ken. I
If
don't
it's
think-
sold,
If it's
Yeah,
sold.
if they own
it's
it,
sold.
then they could rent it back to us.
I
and
mean,
lease it back to
any
us.
contract has many sets of terms, that both parties agree to, or all parties agree to. So
I
maybe
mean,
we simply say, we have use of those poles,
we're gonna have to put in some very specific language that covers all of our bases that we could reasonably foresee could come up. So we're gonna have to do a lot of, I mean, there would be a lot of homework involved to make sure that every single way that they could possibly bill us for that, we cover.
Well, and I personally believe, obviously, for us, by sending a letter, if we're gonna terminate the contract or want to renegotiate, I don't believe we're being paid $30,000 a year or $2,850 a month is fair to what this piece of line is.
Well, there's no way that a contract that was executed in what, like
81.
1981? Okay, so it's 40 years old almost,
It was the same money.
and it's the same amount of money and it hasn't increased at all, even just the cost of living inflation expense, I think would have brought it up considerably. Because $1981 are not the same as $2021.
and we can start negotiation wise with. We agree it was fair price,
Back in 1981, but
here's the cost of inflation. So today's dollars, this is what we're expecting, we can start with that.
I mean, we absolutely could. I also think that while I think our contract would probably provide for some of the things that he was not thinking they would provide for, we can totally clean up the language to ensure that they provide for that and put that in there too. I mean, why not?
I'd like to see us move forward. Ken's suggestion, we get the ball rolling, and we're kind of controlling the discussion.
202%, by the way, from 1981 to now.
Right. So, you know, even if we got a 50% increase, that's still a lot more money than what we're getting now. So,
And I think it's more valuable to do than it is at this point in time.
right.
If it,
I
if
agree
it
with
just
that.
wants control.
Ken, are you really considering selling that?
No.
Okay. Because I'll oppose that if you do.
No, I'm considering getting more than $30,000 a year.
I think,
And I think that the only way we can do that is we gotta give our an automatic renewal last year.
I think,
This
So
year,
we've got,
This year,
it's January, so that's what I'm saying. So we've got
18 months.
18 months,
I agree with you about do.
Yeah.
We need to renegotiate that.
right?
For sure.
That's the first part that I got out of it. The second part is I didn't trust that guy.
Just tell us what you think.
So,
There's something he's holding back.
yeah, there's something there and he kept saying and he kept saying, we're getting nothing. We're out here to look out for you guys. Well, why ain't you been looking out for us for the last 40 years?
Right.
So, I think we need to be now the pressure to ask questions. We'll see what happens by the next board meeting. I'll report what I've got back. As soon as I get an email back, I'll forward it and I'll copy on the email and we'll just see,
I think it's a good plan.
I think one of the things that we're not looking at is in 1981, there was this much electric being transferred to that line. In 2021, where we're at now, how much more electric is being put through there and spread out to the communities after it leaves us, it's passing through us, and we're not making the money for it.
I mean, the bottom line is this, what the contract price should be is it should be someplace lower than what it would cost Duke to build their own infrastructure. And that's not where we are. I mean, we're way lower, we are someplace lower, I suppose.
more than 202%.
Right, right, so, yeah.
Okay, that's all I have.
So I do have a related question, without complicating life, looking at time here. This income came in our books as a what?
miscellaneous income.
All right, so are there other miscellaneous incomes or balance sheet, let's say $1,000 a year or more?
No, the rest of miscellaneous incomes are from like accidents, things like that.
There's no hidden
No, not on this.
miscellaneous income from who knows what?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Any new business?
I had one thing. I've had a couple people, and including one city councilor, and we've talked about, the conversation's been around these public meetings and during COVID, we've been on YouTube and so forth. Well, the audio is poor, you can use that word. I would like to see us take advantage of the facilities of the Old Stony, where they have microphones for each of us, a room large enough for the audience attendants and visitors, camera system, and all the hardware already there. So I'm going to ask for discussion. I'll make a motion, but I'll ask for discussion in terms of us relocating our bi-monthly, twice-monthly meetings to the Old Stony.
I'm gonna ask one question. What do you guys want? As you are, you know, been sitting there for 6 months versus setting up at Old Stony.
I prefer this myself.
Me too.
It's much more comfortable here.
Well, I mean, I think that's, you know, we need to see what that is, obviously.
I think we could make this a lot more conducive for meetings by doing a few things, like, for instance, maybe replacing these tables with some tables that look fairly nice. Maybe some skirting on the table so that it looks more formal. A sound system where maybe not everybody has a microphone, but there would be no problem if there's one here, one there, one there, and one there. I mean, I think, and as far as access to the building, and as far as space, it's much better than the council chamber, the benches that if you're not careful, you'll slide out of because there's this split.
I had trouble getting into Old Stony for an insurance meeting.
Okay.
At 4 o'clock. Them doors are locked. If you just got buzzing office.
They're locked
Well, I
up.
buzzed everybody's office before somebody finally came and let me in at 2 minutes until 4, and I was outside at 20 to 4 trying to get in.
So
I couldn't get in.
My reply, I have no problem staying here if that's the preference of our superintendents, and board members. But then let's get a plan together, some costs together, and let's do it right. As I come in here, and we have people coming in talking about business, we have inspectors, we have people doing quotes. I'm a little bit embarrassed that they look in this corner and see the same pile of empty boxes for the past 3 months. Or the junk behind this wall. That's embarrassing to me. So let's get this cleaned up where it's a professional environment. Let's get microphones for each person. Let's get a speaker system that works. Put a microphone on the podium. Let's get the video figured out for YouTube. And if we're going to do it, let's do it right. And I don't know what that costs, but can someone put together some numbers, or that's what we're going to do?
Yeah, we started looking at it a couple of weeks ago, actually, Rick, on getting something for the sound and everything like that. And Mike talked to me about the tables and some security, and he had talked to Shane as well. So we actually have that ball rolling.
I was unaware of that.
Yeah, so
Let's get the ball rolling faster.
well, we will.
Okay.
We'll get it rolling as fast as we're able.
Okay, all right. I'm good.
Yeah, there was anything else. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Yeah,